the SS Great Britain, and today I set sail for the very first time. Half my body in the water of the fishes and the other in the sky of the birds.
Streamlining through the waves, growing waves battering her aching sides. A true masterpiece, built by Brunel. Now she rests at a museum, lying dormant for eternity.
Jacqueline Ferguson believes in hands-on history. She wants her Year 6s to understand what artefacts can tell us about history and the people who were connected to them. So she's taking them to explore a local Victorian artefact, albeit a rather large one. Jacqueline has been working with the education team at the SS Great Britain to develop a new unit of work called Creative Curator.
When I'm doing a whole unit, I will be really focusing on the skill that I want to develop. So a unit that involves the museum in particular, I'm really looking at developing their investigative skills and their inquiry skills. So I'll start with that and then work the ideas and the activities around that. You obviously have to include the knowledge that you want them to get from it as well. You do want them to come out of the unit not only having developed their investigative skills, but to have some understanding of that period as well.
Welcome Ashton Gate, fantastic to see you here. My name's Helen. Yep, you can see my name.
The first part of this unit is led by Education Officer Helen Horler. Before the pupils get their hands on the actual passenger artefacts from the ship, Helen gets them to recall some of their prior knowledge of the Victorian world and local hero, Brunel.
When did he die?
Who? Brunel? I can see it from here, put it that way.
There. Where? It says there. It says there. 1859.
Okay, so we're going to see how much you know about Brunel. I like this. Whoever did this, very funny. Speech bubbles coming out of his face, fantastic. Okay, we've got Brunel designed the suspension bridge, fantastic. He designed the railway from Bristol to London. What's that railway called?
The Great Western Railway.
Spot on. So, let's have a look at the SS Great Britain ones. That's true. The SS Great Britain had a first-class dining saloon. RME, who's that? Well done. Anything else? It went all the way around the world. Did indeed. Where did it go to? It's going to really show off.
Australia.
Fantastic. Where else did she go?
America.
America, well done. Whereabouts in America? I'm really testing you now.
I don't know.
Phone a friend. I can hear someone get excited over there.
Thomas. New York.
Lovely. Anywhere else? They've got all the different... Yes? Who said that? Well done, Stanley.
What they're bringing together is their knowledge of the Victorian world, their knowledge of what the SS Great Britain was about, and the people that were on board and why they were on board. That is work that they've done, not in this year, but in previous years. So without them realising it, they are summoning up a lot of knowledge that they've built over the years.
Right, what are we going to do next? Every single table in this room has a different character, different person that's on the SS Great Britain. It's your job as a team, working together, talking together, and listening to each other to work out who you are. Then, later on, you're going to do a presentation to everybody else to explain who you are and why you think that is, using all the things on your tables. 5–10 minutes, let's go.
They need some pointers, what to go for. They need to think about how it was made, or maybe what its use was, and then they need to think about who owned it.
Passengers were great help. Setting sail. What will you do with a drunken sailor? What will you do with a drunken sailor?
It's a song, isn't it?
I think it's one of the staff. You never know, because it might be Benjamin, but then you say because it's
It could be Antonio.
It could be Antonio,
because it could be two Italians on it.
But then that seems like an No, because look on here it says that he met Antonio Rossi.
Doesn't say his name, does it?
Yeah, it just says Italian boy.
Yep, we had Polish passengers, Chinese, who would have had more than just possibly one Italian person. But, if you look at this...
Yeah, that would have cost a lot though, wouldn't it?
Do you? Do you think so?
I think
He could have made it himself.
Probably would, isn't it?
You need to provide a mixture of artefacts. Sometimes you can bring in objects and they recognise it, and that can be quite exciting for them. They like to recognise things, they like to know what things are. You need some that will challenge some children. It may be there is no answer as to what it is, so they need to perhaps suggest what it may be.
Put the hat on so the hat fits in. You put that on your hands, so it might be that you put it on your hands, and so it might be that the rope doesn't burn your hands.
Who thinks they're Felix Grainger, the sailor? Mary Crompton, first class.
Oh yeah, he's going to be there.
Alan Gilmore, third class adult.
No.
Why not?
Oh, well, actually.
Because it doesn't even fit me.
Exactly. Okay. Antonio Rossi, third class passenger.
Rossi. It's definitely Antonio Rossi.
So who's your person here? Who have you got? Mary Crompton. And what sort of lady is she?
She's the first. She is on the first class, and she is 20 years old, and well, she's really posh, and she's got quite a lot of servants.
Has she? So she's got a posh dress on you've drawn there, have you? You're going to colour that in as well?
Yeah.
Jessie going to be Mary Crompton?
Yeah,
There she is. Are you going to include the artefacts?
Yeah.
You are? Do you know what this is?
It's a thing where you put under your pillow to keep your head warm. You put like hot water in it, and you put it under, like you put it in your bed, at the bottom maybe or at the top, and then it keeps you nice and warm. Yeah.
So it's a hot water bottle? It is. They have to look at the objects and analyse what that object tells them about that person, not just the identity, but what sort of person they are. And in that way, they really do understand a lot more about life in the past on board the ship.
First one, I'm going to be the rat, and also I'm going to like be this. I'm going to be like, I'm a second class passenger.
I'm Antonio Rossi. I'm the kid.
So you like one of the poor, you like a tramp?
So you're doing Benjamin Sullivan. So you've got his cap on him. How about his cravat?
Do you mean the
Looking like a big bow. There's a picture of Brunel. You can see he's got one around his neck. A bit like a bow.
Looks a bit like a sweet.
No, that's wonderful. That's lovely. And
he has a waistcoat with pockets.
yeah, he's got a nice silk waistcoat, hasn't he? Oh, look at that. Very nice.
I did it.
Some children, they don't like all the writing or the formal education, but in history, if you can create something that's a little bit more imaginative, a little bit different, they do seem to be on task and achieving where they wouldn't in other subjects. So, in a way, history does do that. It sort of brings out different things in different children.
Mr. Allen was also a drunk. He got put in a black hole for it, which was 6 foot wide, 3 foot deep.
Role play is crucial, I think. It really helps the child understand about the person that's using the artefact.
Here we go.
They use that object and show that object being used in its right context. And then, of course, I can assess how well they've understood their inquiry about that artefact.
When I got up and only found one sock on the floor where I'd left a pair, it seemed very curious, and I went all day without any socks. At last, it occurred that it may have been taken by rats.
What really impressed me with the children was that they got an atmosphere in there, especially the one with the rat and the sock and the flute. You got a feeling for them being cramped up in that ship.
Well done.
Dancing people fill the ballroom as they prance around in pretty frocks and dresses.
Soup splashing everywhere in the posh restaurant. Plates smashing in the rocky SS Great Britain kitchens. Men smoking pipes in the posh golden restaurant. Servants cutting themselves on the dagger sharp knife. I walked into my cabin. My friend asked me if I wanted to smoke. Well, of course I did. I took my hat down. It stinked. I looked at my pocket watch. I saw that I was too late to go to dinner. I should have never had a nap.
I'm steerage, always rummaging around in my tiny bed, but I still love my job and I will carry on gambling. But the worst situation I've ever been in is when the captain comes, and here he comes, so I better go.
After exploring the ship, the pupils continue their investigation into artefacts by focusing on how they are displayed in a museum and how they are labelled. First, they question the ship's curator, Christian Redford.
What do you have to do when you're a curator?
What do I do? Well, a job for a curator is to sort of manage and look after a collection of museum objects. And we're standing on a museum object now, which is the ship, but there's many more than this. All sorts of things like passenger diaries, paintings, items of clothing, textiles, bits of the ship that aren't on here at the moment.
What's the most important thing about an artefact?
I wouldn't say there's one particular important thing about an artefact, but things that a museum has to consider when it's trying to illustrate stories or themes about the past is how that object fits into the story that we're trying to tell. And we like to use objects that provoke questions, so that when people come into the museum, they're not just looking at a display of stuff, they're looking at a display of objects and items that have been used by different people throughout history and time. That always helps people to learn about the past, and it always helps people to learn about themselves as well.
What makes a good label for an artefact?
Well, ideally, a good label shouldn't have too many words in, because you don't come to a museum to read too much usually. You like to see nice objects and learn a bit about them too.
Oh, look, I've got one racing on the main brace.
That's good. Did you get the clay pipes as well?
Yeah, I should do.
And what about the label? You need to get up onto the label.
Can I take this picture?
Yeah.
Zoom right into it.
One of the reasons they've come here today is to actually have a look at the way the museum has chosen to label the artefacts, because the children are really thinking about if the labels are interesting and if it draws the audience into reading them. And the artefacts here the children found very interesting, but the label was very dry, whereas down here there's some labels actually written by the children. So they found that much more interesting. Next week they'll probably take these artefacts and then recreate their own label, maybe make up a story about the person to make it a little bit more interesting and child-friendly. Concentrate on the artefact as much as who owned it. So this is Captain Grey, isn't it? He was quite a famous captain. What about reading this label here? Is there too much?
To see how the class continue their investigation back at school, watch Writing About Artefacts. Both these programmes are available to view on the Teachers TV website.